Converse has been a staple in the footwear industry for over 100 years, since the founding basically in 1908, and the Chuck Taylor All-Star is arguably the most successful shoe in all of history. But in recent quarters, we've seen the Nike-owned brand of Converse really start to decline in sales up to 30% in the last quarter. So when they released this $225 version of the iconic All-Star, we had to cut it in half and run it through all of our tests to really figure out, how can a pair of Chuck Taylors be worth $225? Is this a new direction for Converse to try to revive the brand by going higher quality, or is it just a cash grab by Converse? And maybe most importantly, how does this $225 version compare to its sub $100 counterparts? What's the differences, and do those differences warrant that $150 price increase? But first, what are these shoes? Starting with the $225 contender, the brand is Converse, the style is the All-Star First String High. They weigh 1 pound 6 ounces. They retail for extremely steep for Converse, $225. They're made in Vietnam, and the way they position this product is first string, the most premium Chucks ever made. For over 100 years, the All-Star has carried the legacy. Today, we've elevated it with superior materials, expert craftsmanship, and unmatched comfort. First String treats the Chuck Taylor All-Star as an artifact on craft, preserving the purest expression of Converse design while propelling it forward. And if you do want a pair of these, check them out via links in my description. But what are we actually comparing it to? Well, starting with the more expensive, the brand is Converse. The style is the Chuck 70. They retail for $95. They're also made in Vietnam, and the way they position the Chuck 70 is in the early 70s, the Chuck Taylor got a makeover. Premium canvas, a varnished sole, comfier cushioning. Like the original, it was born out of love for basketball, but you turned it into a cultural icon, telling your story in the premium Chuck 70. And then to the actual classic, the brand is Converse. The style is the Chuck Taylor All-Star. They weigh 11 ounces, retail for a very affordable $65. Also made in Vietnam, so all three of them are. And the way they position this one is they're the basketball shoe that became a cultural icon, adopted by you as a symbol of creativity and independence. And you've loved them every step of the way, your original favorite, the Chuck Taylor All-Star. If you want any of these, check them out, the links in my description. But now let's start actually comparing the material. What's the real difference here? Does it actually warrant that huge increase in price? Well, if you look at the classic Converse, let's look at a quick measurement of the canvas, because they're all three cotton canvas. We did the burn test on them. They all smelled like canvas, or like more natural rather than plastic if we burned them, which points to it being a cotton canvas. The regular All-Stars, they come in at a 0.7 millimeters thick for the outer canvas. The Chuck 70s, if you look closely, you can see it's got a backer on the red canvas. So that thickness combined in the two layers comes in at just over 1 millimeter, but the actual single layer of red canvas on the outside is only 0.6 millimeters thick. But how's it compared to these big daddies? Well, this comes in at a 1.2 millimeters thick just on the outer canvas. So it's significantly thicker, almost twice as thick as your regular canvas on the Chuck Taylors. But more importantly, just look at the macro shot of this. So you can see they're both canvas, but look how much bigger and chunkier this canvas is on this premium pair. But what does that actually mean for performance? Is this higher puncture resistance than the other two? Well, the First Strings puncture through at 44 pounds, Chuck 70 at 49, and the All-Stars at 38. So not that much more puncture resistant, but keep in mind this one also has that extra canvas backer, and a bigger chunky weave is gonna allow that needle to push through a lot easier by separating that warp and weft thread. So not more puncture resistant, but I'd be willing to bet it's a lot more abrasion resistant just because of how much thicker the material is and how much chunkier the material is. But is this quality, or is it just the appearance of quality? To me, it is a higher quality canvas. I think it will last longer. I think it's gonna be a more durable canvas. It's going to be a little bit harder to break in, but it's really not that crazy. So I really like this canvas, and I'd love to see just like a regular Chuck 70 out of a lot chunkier canvas. But do the differences justify the price difference between these three shoes? Not from the canvas alone. Probably a little bit more expensive canvas, but it'd be a marginal difference. I don't think it's a 3 times the price difference. So these are the samples. That is so sick. These will be available when we launch the Blood Court. You're also gonna see a bunch of the wallets come through, all of the boot accessories, little Swayze wallet, but we only order in batches. So if you want some really cool Alien Blood Court products, be ready. Get on the limited edition email list below. But if we look at the inside, that's where you're gonna see maybe the biggest difference, because your regular Chucks, usually just canvas lined. There's a few exceptions that have more modern sneaker linings, but for the most part, they're really thin canvases. The Chuck 70 comes in at 0.5. Your regular Chucks are also 0.5, but the First String, on the other hand, it looks like it's leather lined. So to see if it actually was leather, because it's a pretty like sloppy and really loose leather, I was like, maybe it is plastic. So we burned it to see, and it doesn't melt like plastic, so it's definitely a leather. But what is the quality of the leather? Well, if we take a quick measurement test, it comes in at 0.7 millimeters thick. So pretty pretty thin for lining leather. Usually you see in like more high quality leather lined boots and dress shoes, you see like 1 millimeter. So it's not the worst for a sneaker being a little bit on the thinner side, but that's why you get such a floppy and sloppy lining on the inside. It doesn't really hold its shape. You can see it's kind of bagging around the shoe. But one thing I love about this lining is it's completely seamless through the heel area. There's not a single seam going up the top, going through the sides. It's just one single flawless piece of leather that cups your heel. So the cool thing about that is you don't have any seams to accidentally wear through. You don't have any high pressure points caused by any seams. A lot of times if you do have a seam and you pop that thread, it doesn't matter how high quality the leather is, it's still a failure point. And so to be completely seamless, I really like that idea. But is it leather all the way through the forefoot? It feels like it. I think it's completely leather lined. So is this lining a sign of quality or is it just the appearance of quality? To me, it's clearly quality. It's a lot more durable. It's a more premium material. Does that difference justify the price difference between these three shoes? Not that alone. Once again, you know, adding the canvas on the outer plus the leather is still not, to me, not even close to being worth that $225 price point, especially compared to the $65 Chucks. It is an upgrade for sure. And I think it's a more substantial upgrade than the canvas alone. Okay, what about the insoles or the inserts? Well, your regular Chucks, they don't have a removable insole or insert. They just kind of chunk out like this if you try to remove them, which can be kind of annoying, but they are really affordable. The Chuck 70s do have a removable insole. What about the first strings? This is where it gets weird because look at this. So this is a weird insole because it's, you know, you got the leather in the heel, you got the fabric in the forefront, it's a closed-celled foam, and you've got this little bubble of air unit right there. But the problem with this air unit is it's really, really flat. There's not much air pressure in there. And I still think it's cool. You know, I think it's probably gonna absorb some of the shock of walking around. But to me, this is basically 40-year-old technology. You know, Nike put this in their actual Nike line. You can actually see the Nike swoosh right there. They did, I think they released, let's find out actually. Did Nike release the air unit? I thought it was like 82. 78. Yeah, so it's like almost a 50-year-old tech, and it's really flat, and it's really just nowhere near the quality that Nike is capable of, especially if you start looking at their Zoom Air units and all the other technology. And I'm sure there's some crossover that can't happen between Converse and Nike. This feels like a gimmick more than anything. I wouldn't trust that this will keep its air in there forever because I can just bottom it out by squeezing it. And I'd honestly rather just have a full foam insole rather than just having a little gimmick in the heel. So is this a sign of quality or just the appearance of quality? This one to me screams of appearance of quality. I don't see any reason to even have that in there, but does this difference justify the price difference? Once again, probably not. I feel like it's probably a little bit more expensive to do that, but it's definitely not the most expensive way to add an air unit into the sole. A lot of these things, I'm like, it's probably an extra $5 here, $5 there, $3 there. You know, I've yet to see anything that's really significant that would actually justify this huge price increase. But we'll see how this performs when we do the ball and bar drop test, because maybe the biggest difference between these is hopefully in the sole construction. Because you can see you got that classic Vibram yellow tag right there, which is different from the regular self-branded Converse outsoles. Vibram is one of the top names in the industry for outsoles, so it is a sign of quality. But is this a better outsole? Is the rubber any different? How's the durometers? Here's your durometer differences, fairly close. But what about the puncture test? The originals got 75, the Chuck 70s got 59, but the first strings only got 61. But how does this actually perform in the ball and bar drop test? Well, here's your results. So really it's not pointing to it being that different, and even with this air unit in the heel, I thought we'd see different results than what we actually did. So to me, the last hope for this shoe is that they've improved the way that they manufacture them, because Converse are notorious for falling apart. Because one of the weaker ways of making a shoe, it's a vulcanized construction where they take the outsole and the upper and they wrap around this foxing tape that's not fully cured rubber. They put it in a big oven and it cures all that rubber together and bonds it together instead of gluing it together. But the problem is over time, you'll start to get separation between those vulcanized layers, which leads to that common problem everyone's experienced with Vans and Converse, where it delaminates in certain areas and your shoe is shot. So my question is, on a $225 shoe, did they fix the biggest problem with Converses, or did they just do the exact same thing and try to pass it off as like, well, we're just doing it the heritage way, this is how we've always done it. Even though it's a $225 shoe, we had to do it vulcanized because that's how we've always done it. That's what I want to figure out. So now, let's cut them in half. All right, we got them cut in half. It's time to figure out, did Converse actually pull off a premium version of their classic Chuck Taylors? Or is this just a cash grab to make them look higher quality without any of the substance? Let's find out. And if you're not subscribed, push that little subscribe button. It's the only way we afford to buy $225 Chuck Taylors is to actually see what you're spending your hard-earned money on and if you should avoid them or if they're worth considering. So, now let's see what's inside. Look at that beautiful air unit. If I had a choice between an air unit in the heel and not, I would always choose not. Because it gives you an imbalance too, because you got this high pressure spot here and it just doesn't work. To me, it's a full gimmick. But what about the inside differences? What's the difference in the regular Chucks, the Chuck 70s, and the first string? Well, it's honestly built a little bit more like the regular Chucks, because the Chuck 70s have this pour-on layer of like really nice foam that runs the full length that acts as the stroble board. And the regular Chucks have just a regular stroble board, and then the outsole is glued onto that or vulcanized onto that. Compare that to the first string, same thing, it's just a cheap stroble board, but you do have a little bit of wedge of foam in the heel, but it's not the stroble board, it's just a filler layer. And so it's honestly built more like a regular Chuck. It has a little bit more structure here with these columns that are gonna give you a little bit more squish, and it's, you know, you got enough foam in here so I can give you high spots and low spots. Well, I thought it was gonna be built more like the Chuck 70. You know, the Chuck 70 is really comfortable, it's really durable, and even the outsole, I think the outsole on the Chuck 70 is thicker. So really there's not much of a material upgrade on the inside of the first strings. You know, this is a Vibram outsole, but now you can clearly see it's still vulcanized. I can kind of see the argument saying, well, it's always been vulcanized, we gotta do it vulcanized, but this shoe will still fail in the exact same way and probably the same speed that every other Chuck Taylor fails. And so when you buy a $225 shoe and they didn't even put the time and energy to think like, if a consumer buys this and it fails like a regular Chuck Taylors that they're buying for $65, are they gonna be upset? Yeah, they're gonna be upset. It's $225. And there's no way that they're incapable of making this into a capsule. It's Nike, like Nike-owns Converse. Like they have the capability to do that. And so to me, it's a little disappointing on the inside. I thought for sure this would be higher quality. There'd be some redeeming points to it, because really the biggest differences are the thicker canvas, which does not really equate to $150 difference. The leather lining that I really do like how it's seamless, but it's really thin and it's just not, it's not the highest quality lining. It's only 225 bucks, but it is an upgrade. The air unit in the heel, you can kind of point to the Vibram outsole, but like a lot of them just, they have more of the appearance of quality than the actual substance of quality. So how can a pair of Chuck Taylors be worth $225 when Converse says they're worth $225? Because to me, this is not worth that price point, especially with how big Converse is and the economy of scale they have and all the resources by being owned by Nike. I feel like this shoe should probably be worth closer to like $150, $175 tops, because $225 is crazy. Like just to put it in comparison, just to have something from the boot world to compare, you can get a pair of Thursdays for $200. Obviously it's a boot compared to a sneaker, but it's just to prove the point. You can put premium materials inside of footwear for around that $200 price point. So to me, there's no reason why they kind of cut some corners and didn't do it all the way to make this actually worth $225. So is this the new direction for Converse, or is this just a cash grab? I don't think it's like a full cash grab, because it still has a Vibram outsole and they still upgraded some things. To me, it doesn't scream like, oh, we're trying to make this a premium Chuck Taylor worth $225. So I'm hoping that Converse, maybe it is a new direction for them and this is just kind of them stumbling out of the starting blocks, but I'd be willing to bet their margins on this are really, really good. Probably lower quantities, and it's, you know, it's a whole different conversation with that, but I don't think it's worth $225. And would I buy these? Would I spend $225 on these? I wouldn't. I just wouldn't trust it, especially like just from it being vulcanized alone. I'd be like, oh man, what if it fails in 3 months? I've had Chuck Taylors fail in 3 months. Like what if I spent $225 and they fail? Well, now that we cut it in half, you can clearly see there's no reason it should last any longer than a regular pair of Chucks. Kind of disappointing. I really like Chuck Taylors. I've had a pair of Chucks basically since the day I was born. I've always had a pair of Chucks in rotation. I love Converse, but these big companies, it just seem like they keep shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over when they try to do this thing. Like we just did the Timberland where it's like, this is the Lux boot, it's $420, and it was like built like a $100 shoe. Similar story here. And these brands wonder why the consumer loses trust in these giant corporations. It's because you're selling this for $225. It's not the most egregious version of overpricing something and making it look higher quality than what it is, but it's a very average version of that, and we just see it over and over and over. Hopefully Converse learns from that, because it'd be such a tragedy if Converse went under. I don't think it ever would. I think they're just kind of changing strategies, but this is not as good of a sign for the future as I'd hoped it would have been for Converse. So let me know what you guys think, and if you own a pair of these and your experience in them and how they compare Chuck 70 compared to the regular Chucks, what you like, what you don't like, and thank you guys for all your support. See ya.